Hello, good people. Welcome to another edition. We are live from beautiful downtown Burbank for another edition of Internet for Old People. I'm your host, Ken Napzok, part of the Good People Association. Are we the good people? No, you out there are the good people. We love bringing you all the entertainment we can find. We call ourselves an empire of fun. If you want to visit our website to maybe find a sustaining membership that you find to your liking or get some GPA merch, I forgot my beanie today. Head on over to the gpa.fun. Fun is a real website. The gpa.fun. A lot of people checking in live today. This is a show that we discuss all about the pop that made our culture. It's a fun look back. It's also at times a poignant look back as we try to find out the shared stories we all have within the world of pop culture and all the things we experienced. Trey T is here, Sheila Toner watching live, Michael Kautzer, and a lot more, including Haskell 420, Eddie. We always love you, Eddie. Usually first in chat, always does a lot of work promoting our shows out there. Eddie, we appreciate you, brother. As always, if you got a super chat or Streamlab, you can hit us up on streamlabs.com/goodpeoplegpa or super chat here on YouTube. But this is not one of those shows either. You can make a donation to the channel overall, but this is a different kind of show. You know what I mean? So let's not wait anymore. Let's bring in our two guests today. They're actually returning guests to the Internet for Old People program. It is a former stand-up comic colleague of mine, but now he's just a life colleague of mine. He is also the only guest on the show who has been on both Cagney and Lacey and Airwolf, and as we just found out off air, a suicidal tendencies video. Welcome back, Mike Beatrice and WGA award-winning writer Chip Dornell. Hey, boys, welcome back to the program.
Wow. I had Cagney and Lacey, but man, you get the WGA award. I got nothing.
There you go. Show from Chip. Chip, damn you, I've known you for almost 20 years. You're going to be proud of this. You're going to show that again, and you're going to take your time. Look at this, everybody. Chip just won an award. You just won an award.
I was making a Homer Simpson reference there. It was a little quick, but it's he tipped the bellhop.
Yeah.
His Grammy.
That's right.
And he goes, "Oh, it's just a Grammy." And he drops it over the side of the railing, and someone throws it back up and says, "Oh, it's just a Grammy."
Just a Grammy.
It's just a WGA award.
But you done good, kid. You done good for your work on The Weakest Link. So everyone in chat, congratulate Chip Dornell. And congratulate Mike Beatrice for being, a parent of two great girls in a pandemic. Mike, that's no easy feat either. There should be awards for that.
No, they don't give awards for that. Just debt. Debt is what they give you.
Just the debt
Bills.
of life.
Yeah.
How old is your oldest now?
6.5.
Wow.
The one's about to be
Right?
5.
Right? It's been
Holy
so long.
mackerel.
We've known each
I
other.
locked them in the closet while we do this, so we should
That's
have
right.
plenty of peace of mind. I put the dog in there too. So it's
The dog will take care of the snacks for them.
Yeah,
The three of us have known each other for quite some time. We used to do stand-up comedy regularly together for a couple different outfits in L.A., but we were always hanging around a great place called Room 5 doing comedy. Chip and Mike, I want to talk to you about comedy then, not comedy now, not what you can or can't say, but just when did you start feeling a little older on stage with like a pop culture reference or something that just didn't fly? Chip, you have a great joke about Martin Luther King Day, Ethiopian restaurants, a lot of great stuff. But did you ever make a reference where you're like, I'm out, I can't do it anymore?
No, because I got out of it so long ago. I was still hip when I left comedy. So
that's a good point. That's a good point. Mike, you War of 1812 reference. At what point did you feel disconnected?
any day now. No, I think I started seeing our references from the stage when I started seeing them in mainstream movies and television, like Marvel movies or Archer, which is great. And so I realized that all the people that were doing comedy at the same time as us, doing the same references, graduated and moved into actual work. And then the next generation was coming up in the comedy. And so I think I only speak for me. I started to feel like McConaughey in Dazed and Confused. Like, quit hanging around. It's over. You missed your window.
I will say. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I think that's about right. Yeah. When our little kind of special little pop culture references became mainstream, that meant we weren't, we are part of ancient history now, I think.
Yeah, we weren't the ones mainstreaming them.
I mentioned this before. Ken, on this show. But to point out the gap between you and me, I can recall you being on stage talking about what preceded Facebook there. Was it the
Friendster?
The what?
Friendster, yeah. MySpace and Friendster, yeah.
MySpace and Friendster. You would like reference those, and I'd be like, what is he talking about? And I think that's when I realized maybe it's time for me to get out of comedy.
I had a good dating online dating run, a joke that now is so outdated I can't even use it. But at the time, it was like, hey kids, it's crazy. We're dating online now. That's how long we've been doing this. That's how long we've been.
Are people not dating online anymore?
That's the only way. That's the only way, especially during the pandemic. Mike, how many profiles are you swiping right or left on? That's the question for the lockdown.
I'm advised under counsel not to answer that question.
Fair enough, sir. Fair enough. That is great. Hey, Mark Riley's live in chat. Very own Mark Riley of the Good People GPA watching home, along with folks like Daniel Medina, Laserbolt, Ron Ponce checking in as well. All right, let's get to the meat of the show here. This is a little segment we call Bucket Full of Pop. All right, this is a segment where I've got 3 pop culture events, shows, movies, characters, actors, something kind of specific, sometimes a little general, but they all should elicit some kind of reaction because we've experienced them before, and this is my point for the whole show. It is our pathway back and our pathway forward of our modern pop culture world. I love getting everyone's reactions. I always surprise my guests with these little pop culture moments. Sometimes it really works and there's big connections, and sometimes it's just a little corner that you missed, and so I always love seeing that. All right, Mike, Chip, if you're ready to catch up, let's get on to this bucket of pop. Are you ready, sirs?
I want to dive into the bucket.
Let's
bring the bucket.
Dive into a bucket indeed. First one up, this is from 1984. This is the first MTV Movie Awards. It's Madonna, Like a Virgin, but also MTV itself turning 40 this year, this past week. A lot of things, a lot of think piece articles about it. Chip, Mike, thoughts on Madonna, Like a Virgin, the Movie Awards, and MTV. Mike, what do you think?
I mean, she helped make MTV.
Yeah.
Like, she was, if we're going to old people, assuming we're the old people.
We are.
I don't count for that.
No.
But we didn't have there was not the accessibility to risque material then that there was now.
Yes.
So just seeing Madonna wearing the outfits and then happily seeing the women we went to school with, the young women, emulate that was just fantastic. So when she was out there against 3 network channels, when she's on MTV, she is legitimizing MTV and making must-watch television before there was must-watch television.
Oh yeah, this performance at the MTV Awards, the music awards, absolutely was water cooler conversation, or Capri Sun conversation if you're at school. Chip, your thoughts on this MTV Madonna, and just looking back on 40 years of this crazy music industry disrupting channel.
Well, I'm never shy to point out my age. I will mention that I was a freshman in college when Madonna first hit it big.
Nice.
But I was probably a junior in high school when MTV, is that right?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
I remember for the first time, it was right around the time that MTV had just come out. I had gone with a bunch of friends to watch a simulcast concert of what was going to be the last concert performance by The Who.
Yeah.
We went to I think it was Memorial Auditorium or the Flynn Theater in Burlington, Vermont, on a cold winter night to watch basically a television show of The Who. It was supposed to be their last concert, and they went on to perform for many years after that.
I think still going in some form.
And they had ads inserted from MTV.
Yep.
And that was 39, 40 years ago.
It's
incredible.
Crazy. I want
Chip,
my
are we
MTV.
both New Englanders? Are you from Vermont?
Yeah. Okay. I was born in New York, moved to Vermont.
Wait a minute. As long as we've known each other, you both are just finding out you grew up near each other. I mean, well, not near each other, but regional.
I think I've told you the Room 5 days are a little fuzzy for me. So it's like I'm just meeting Chip for the first time. That's your sign, Chip.
Mike, get to know
your name again.
Get to know so this was an era where if you wanted to see a real concert, and you know, before MTV, if you wanted to see a band, you had to drive down to like Foxborough, or go to like the Boston Garden. That's where you saw the shows. That was it.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. And here's the thing about MTV is we look back 40 years, and I could literally do the whole show probably about MTV and what it means. It is a barometer. And Chip, you're joking. You're a little, a couple years older than us, and so you had a different experience with it. You were like, "What is this brand new thing?" I was real little. I kind of remember it. I remember the commercials, but it isn't until Madonna starts to get big, and my parents and our entire church was like, "Stay away from that sinner" on the old cable TV. I thought cable TV was a sin at this point, the way it was working. Our relationship with MTV, whether it's close or not, whether you're going home from school and watching every day, or you're a little older and it's something on their side, I think MTV is, for a lot of us, that through line of when you started to feel disconnected. Did you, Chip, at all have any favorite shows that you did start to like or things to like about it, and then you felt it changed and it wasn't your MTV as a college kid anymore?
Oh, yeah. When they started getting into live action television shows and when they started getting away from MTV, I was like, "Where?" By that time, I was a full-fledged adult.
Yeah.
But I at that time was like, if I turn on MTV, it's to watch videos, not a bunch of whippersnappers fighting over shampoo.
Whippersnappers and shampoo. Definitely a thing. Mike, did you have any favorite shows? A lot of people in chat are talking about 120 Minutes. Headbangers Ball. I could totally see you being a Headbangers Ball fan, Michael. What about your relationship with MTV, and when did it start to change?
So, last time I was here, we talked about when my pop culture experience began.
Yeah.
And I added to that when it ended. And when it ended was the day they aired Real World on MTV.
Right.
And it's not necessarily a slight on Real World. I think Real World gave birth to the reality television movement, good or bad. Totally. But so when MTV has a 40-year anniversary, but really it was like 10 years. Yeah. Because at the 11-year mark, it became something else.
Yeah.
So my relationship with MTV changed when it stopped being about the videos and started being about people becoming real. Because I was one of those guys that would, after school, go to my friend's house. They had a big projection TV.
Yeah.
And we would just watch videos while we hung out and, whatever. And so, but during the music video era, I was kind of a bookish nerd. I enjoyed the MTV News. I enjoyed Kurt Loder.
Loder's my guy, man.
People forget now. Man, they broke some huge stories. They, I was checking my memory before I came on. They basically broke the Berlin Wall coming down.
Yeah.
Like in East Germany, they got that news from MTV live, as opposed to any of the fledgling 24-hour news networks. So they were, they got, the people that were old to us then said, "Oh, it's this raunchy music video channel that needs to be labeled and chaperoned." But there was so much more to it. It kind of disproportionately, it was mostly music videos, but it checked a lot of boxes for us with other interests.
That's so true. I have a complicated relationship with Twitter now, or social media. I think we all do. But there was a point in time where Twitter, it still kind of is for a lot of us. It's a news source. You feel an earthquake, you go to Twitter. You hear a police siren, you go to Twitter to see local community, see if there's something going on. News breaks fast at lightning speed, and you turn into the local news, and they're still waiting for their 5 o'clock broadcast. There's something to be said about MTV back then being a little bit closer to the pulse of the world and reacting faster and bringing something new. I don't know if an old guy like you, Chip, felt that, but I felt that.
I mean, it just brought to mind the fact that there were fewer cable networks, so you didn't have your E network, you didn't have your entertainment news channel. So I mean, when it came to entertainment news, you had it kind of like your own, like MTV was MTV's own headline news, basically.
Yeah,
it's like every half hour on the half hour. coming up with Kurt Loder or Tabitha Soren or the other guy whose name I can't remember.
There was a few. Adam Curry in the early days.
The VJs, VJ
Serena Altschul later on.
All a thing of the past.
Chris Conley.
Chris Conley. He was big because he and Loder were like legit news guys. The Element says MTV News. Dung, 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 you hear it first. Yeah, that stuck in my head. And look, if you happen to be an old fan of some of the news segments I used to do on Schmoes, number one, thank you. Number two, it was more Loder. It was me doing Loder more than Dennis Miller or something like that. It was because it was legit news with a little sass and a little snark, which was what Loder was at the time, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wrapping up.
And just, if I can tag that one more second.
Yeah.
You know, it was so influential. There's a case to be made that Bill Clinton was the MTV president. Does he get elected president without MTV?
That is an
or
excellent
Arsenio
point.
Hall.
Or Arsenio Hall. Yeah.
Right?
No,
right.
Absolutely. Those two, I'm sure Bill Clinton playing that sax is going to be on a future episode of Bucket Full of Pop here. That's a great point. I'd love to talk to you both about that. It is much like, say, the 1960 debate with Kennedy and Nixon started to usher in a modern era of politics back then. On radio, Nixon won. On TV, Kennedy won. I absolutely think Clinton was the first modern age president. Chip, you mentioned Arsenio Hall. I think that all factors in, yeah?
Yeah. He was this guy from Arkansas. You can tell. I mean, I followed politics from way back when, and I knew who he was.
Sure.
But I mean, in general, a lot of people didn't know who Bill Clinton was. He was young and he was ambitious, and struggled like most people without a big name do in the primaries. And I don't know, there are so many points that are called turning points in an election, but that was considered a turning point when he appeared on Arsenio Hall playing the saxophone along with a band with a pair of sunglasses on. And it was something that you had never seen a presidential candidate do before.
Yeah.
And it was not out of control. It wasn't unseemly. It was wild and new, but it was sort of revolutionary in terms of what you're used to seeing, you know, your leaders or potential leaders doing. And it really did resonate with the youth, apparently. Yeah. And it was huge.
Well, look, voter turnout is always an issue, and Gen X is generally a stoic, lazy generation. But rock the vote and that stuff in '92, Mike, that we can claim that as ours. Yeah,
absolutely, rock the vote.
Yeah,
it was the is regarded differently now.
Yeah,
objectively, that's just true.
Yeah,
but at the time, it was celebratory in the streets. On college campuses. I remember the saxophone moment. That was iconic. Yeah. And then he was he and Al Gore, they were young. They listened to our music. They were relevant. Finally, we had somebody we could relate to that would listen to we didn't use this word back then, but our woke values.
Right.
Little did we know that his vice president's wife would lead the charge to label and restrict music and videos.
Yeah.
Who knew?
It's all comes together. Well, there you go. We could probably talk more and more. Like I could probably easily have done a show on MTV. They are so powerful. They became more than music. They became about culture as they helped define it and build it. But we're going to get on to our number 2 pop culture moment. Here we go. That's right. Going back to May of 1993, May 20th to be exact. It is the Cheers finale. All right, we're old guys. Let's talk about it. I have a little joke I sometimes say about my girlfriend asked me if Ted Danson was on a show before Becker, but this show was a generation-defining show, and this was a generation-defining finale. Mike, you kind of got the Massachusetts Boston market cornered. No pun intended about that great chain of restaurants. Any reaction to the Cheers finale?
Yeah, and look, I've been in the actual bar, the one that they based it on. The one they had the fabricated tourist ones above ground.
Right.
But the actual where they shot the exterior is one below ground. I've been in there. I've sat on the Norm stool. I love it there.
Yeah.
Backing up for a minute, I remember that was a sleeper TV show. The first couple of seasons it didn't catch on, but it was still critically acclaimed. Eventually, everybody got up to speed, and the acting was so great, and the stories were great, and and it became two shows. There was the Shelley Long years and then the Kirstie Alley years.
Right.
And it really was. It was already there before the must-see television lineup on Thursday night came together. When you would book your nights around television, because there was scheduled programming, not streaming.
Yeah. I used to have a calendar at home, and I'd write like I had TV Guide, but I had a calendar like Thursdays. I need to be home for Wings. Got to be there.
Right, Wings. And so you went on this journey with these, and it really was like going to a bar every Thursday night and hanging out with your friends. So when they finally ended it, it was a show that ended on their own terms. I could have gone on longer. Yeah. And what I recall was that it was one of like, I don't know, easily one of the 5 biggest finales in our lifetime. You know, MASH, Seinfeld, Cheers. I don't know what else there is. But everybody was glued. And what was great is that it spilled over into Jay Leno's Tonight Show, where the entire cast was
literally spilled.
Spilled over themselves in the bar, drunk.
That's right.
That was a moment like it would have gone viral the next day. It would have been downloaded the next day, but you just had to see it in that moment and talk about it.
Yeah.
And that was it, because then the mantle went to like Seinfeld and Friends.
Yeah.
And that got us through the 90s. And now you talked about comedy earlier. A lot of that has been eschewed, or at least compartmentalized from what we accept as, modern relevant comedy now.
Yeah, Ryan Kramer points out Dallas was a big finale too in our lifetime. Chip, for you, what do you think about? Because remember, they had Bob Costas hosting the countdown show. It was like an event. We were gathered around. Were you gathered around? Were in your neck of the woods? Was this a show that?
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I am a man of unpopular opinions, and you brought up Tipper Gore a moment ago. I totally think Tipper Gore was unfairly vilified by a lot of people in the music industry. Won't go into that's for another show. But the Cheers finale for me was when Shelley Long left. After she left, I didn't watch the show that much anymore. I mean, the show's success was actually, as much as people hated her guts, the show's success was like built around her Odie's personality, due to the chemistry with her and Sam Malone.
Yeah.
And once that was gone, it was just like, because the whole thing was just like, they hate each other. Oh my God, they love each other. That was great TV.
Yeah.
And then Kirstie Alley came in, and I was just like, it's not the same thing. It was never the same thing. I do remember the night that it was on, though. Yeah. I don't even know if I watched the final episode, but I did see part of the Jay Leno segment, and just kind of like shrugged, because they were just so done. So done by that point.
They were hammered. Well, about the finale itself, Mike. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, Chip makes a great point, because a lot of people did check out after Shelley Long. I feel the Shelley Long years, it was a classic romantic comedy in sitcom form. But when Kirstie Alley came on the show, it became simply a comedy, even a slapstick comedy.
At times,
so it was different. And then it became more about the ensemble cast.
Yeah, and look, that's a show that I think taught a lot of TV production and writing teams like how to pivot after the death of Coach. Woody comes to break a character. They had to move on.
That was a great transition too.
Yeah. They constantly found new ways. But you're always going to have your certain era. The finale itself with Diane coming back, Shelley Long coming back. I always think it's one of the greatest endings. I think Vermont Mike and Chat said at the final. Sorry we're closed, but I just love the speech, where she says, we're still going to be together or whatever, and she walks away, and Sam just quietly says, have a nice life. It really was I thought a beautiful ending for a comedy show. It had a lot of heart there,
It did have heart, and I think a show like that about a guy who's a skirt chaser, so to speak, that show doesn't last long, even then, if it didn't have heart, and they built the emotion in the show. The transition after Coach to Woody was great, but also in the last moments of that show, Sam goes over to a wall and adjusts a little photo of Coach, doesn't he?
He does. He does. Absolutely. And Michael Kautzer in chat says, I need to watch Troop Beverly Hills again. One of my guilty pleasure movies. I enjoy Troop Beverly Hills. Shelley Long leading the way. Final thoughts here on Cheers. No matter what era you watched it, it was built on the main cast, the ensemble, but also the wonderful characters that came in and out of that bar. Chip, Mike, favorite little either moments or characters with Cheers? Chip, back in the day, did you have some? Or did you just like, Shelley Long's gone, I'm out?
I think favorite and just the way because they made me laugh, not because I really liked the characters, but I mean, Frasier. I mean, Kelsey Grammer was just what he did with that character was fantastic. Even though he was kind of like a cousin Arnold or whatever, you know, they brought him in later. Yeah, you know, later on. Yeah, he cracked me up. Baby Newirth cracked me up. I mean, not the original cast, of course, was they were the foundation, but. I mean, that's just, the show was just so successful and had such a great writing and good fortune that you could actually do all those jumping the shark things that are normally jumping the shark. Yeah. And they're wonderfully successful.
Frasier turning to Cliff one day and saying, Cliff, what is the color of the sky in your world is still one of my favorite lines.
What color is the sky in your world?
Michael, you?
Yeah, so I mean, favorite moments, favorite characters, favorite cameos. I'm gonna go with favorite cameos.
Yeah.
This show was such a powerhouse cultural force of nature. They would have multiple cameos a year. Yeah. And among them, like Robert Urich from Spencer for Hire, playing himself going into the bar. Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill. Right. John Kerry, by the way, has been around so long. John Kerry cameo. But of all of those,
I didn't know.
Here's a guy you don't know, whose name I don't remember.
Yeah.
Whoever the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was at the time, cameoed on the show in full uniform and he condescendingly tipped his head to Cliff. We men in uniform got to stick together. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
That's crazy.
Came on that show for a cameo.
You don't see that.
No, you don't.
Well, and that speaks to the finale of the show, whether you were still connected with it or not. It was so big. It was the end of an era. And I remember thinking, like, what's next? Friends is on the horizon. Like you said, Seinfeld is gaining speed. But, it's kind of one of those things where this and the Cosby Show, I know it's a name sometimes it's tough to bring up, but what Cosby did is that show did. I'll just say the show. You can't deny it was groundbreaking. And this was. I remember just thinking, like, when that finale ended, I'm like, well, what now? TV's done. I don't know what we do anymore. what goes?
And wings, and wings.
And wings.
Because when it comes to regional airport sitcoms.
Wings is the best.
Wings was groundbreaking.
Scarpacci.
Love that show.
I love Wings.
It was good.
Ryan Kramer in chat says, this is a great way to end the Cheers discussion. This is just the wit of the show. One of my favorite lines from Cheers, Diane to Sam. Do you know the difference between you and a fat brain ass? Sam, no. Diane, the fat brain ass would. So I love the wit, the levels, and the levels of satire there. All right, so there we go on our first one. Let's wrap this up with our final pop culture event here in this bucket full of pop. All right, you mentioned Jay Leno, and it does kind of flow out of the Cheers finale. This is actually the 2010. It is the war for late night. Conan versus Jay. Were you Team Jay? Were you Team Coco? I have a feeling many people watching and many people on the show were Team Coco. So this actually popped back in my mind because I finally, after all these years, I never watched it. But Sunday night, while I was actually preparing for the show at home, I put on Conan O'Brien Can't Stop, which is that documentary about him going out on the road when he was legally forbidden from being on TV or the internet or anything. And it was a fascinating doc, and it got me thinking more about this. Bill Carter's book, which is one of my favorite books, The War for Late Night. So I wanted to present that to you boys. You're both comedy guys. Mike, is the Boston connection too strong for Conan? You had to be Team Coco, yeah?
Well, I feel like I'm bordering on Conan O'Brien's hair at some point. The little wavy thing going on. I did not see that interview.
Yeah.
I think I probably wasn't watching a lot of network late night TV then.
Yeah.
Like I did in the old days, because I think I had branched out to the cable channels.
Yeah.
But what occurs to me when I remember the war, of course.
Just the war, the overall event,
and I know, and there were sides.
Yeah.
And I don't have a dog in that fight. I mean, I think Jay Leno was unfairly maligned, perhaps, as a person. But Conan O'Brien is known as an all-around good guy. But what I think about when I see that is almost 2 decades prior, when Letterman was eked out of NBC and went to CBS. Conan shows up in Dave's old slot on NBC, and I say Dave went the other way than Jay, because that also might be unfair.
Yeah.
But it's perceived differently. Letterman went out of his way to go back and have an interview and sit in the chair with Conan and give him his blessing and prop him up, whatever else he thought. And that, if that doesn't happen, Conan's off the air.
Right.
Because he was struggling.
He was struggling.
Yep. And so it's ways to handle a transition. That's my takeaway.
No, that's I think and
also
go ahead.
And also maybe there was the classic late night era with Steve Allen and Johnny Carson and all those guys. Then you had our sophomoric run in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
With Letterman, and then you had some guys flittering around like Dennis Miller, maybe Jay Leno was trying, maybe Jon Stewart was trying to make a run in, Arsenio. Conan got adopted by the next generation.
He really did, yeah.
And so it was Team Coco for a while. That was, and I love Conan. Like I'll be Team Coco, sure, but exactly invited to be a part of that team. So I think that's when the mantle. It was the shift from snarky, sophomoric, deconstructing late night to a more genuine, positive. Poke at the establishment, but affirm people late night. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
I think you're true. I think that's true. Chip, your thoughts on just the overall war for late night in 2010?
God, I was we had HBO ever since I was like, I don't know, in the 5th grade, whatever. And they would always have their young comedian shows on it. And the very first one I saw was hosted by Jay Leno. So it's like I knew this guy going back that far, and the shows were so fun. I'd watch them over and over again, and I loved everyone who was in it, including Jay Leno throughout the years until he got the Tonight Show. And I think part of it was I had this place in my heart for Letterman.
Yeah, a lot of people did,
and I don't know, just Leno was just such, and he is, as a person, he's just a nice guy.
Yeah.
But on the show, it was something was like missing. He didn't have like the edge that he needed for that seat. Yeah. And I remember he would always have, not always, but the times he had Howard Stern on, Howard Stern would run circles around because Howard Stern was still kind of like the mean guy, shock jock, and he would like pull that shock jock stuff out on Jay Leno, making this longer than it has to be, but what the hell? And Jay would have him back just to try to get back at him. Yeah. And so he would ask Howard Stern a question, and he would start going in on his clothes. It's like, what are you wearing, a dickie? What's that? What's that? And Howard Stern would be like, what are you doing? It's just like, it's like, this isn't even you. Yeah. And it was just kind of like so sad. And I actually have a friend who is a journalist, Ray Richmond, who did a review of Jay Leno's show after he took over that slot. And Ray was just like, well, here's what it is. It's not that great, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And Jay Leno called him and said, well, what can I do? And it was that sort of desperation that kind of made me be like, he doesn't really own this.
Yeah.
And so years later, Conan comes along, and, it's like, I'm young. I'm not going to bed anytime soon. So I watch Conan, and I'm just like, who is this guy? Who does he think he is?
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the line, things turned around. And if I watch, there are a couple of YouTube videos that I will go back and watch. And I think they both involve Norm Macdonald and his appearances on Conan O'Brien, because it is one of the funniest things. They are two of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I think someone even mentioned those in chat. Norm Macdonald in 94, 96 as Star Drew. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fascinating, and this is probably, I should probably spin this off into a podcast because I'd love to dive into it. I am a huge Conan O'Brien fan. I think Jay got correctly maligned and incorrectly maligned, Mike. Actually, I agree with you on some of the stuff. It was a weird situation. That's why if anyone out there is interested in the situation, go read The Late Shift by Bill Carter and then his follow-up, The War for Late Night. There's some stuff Conan did win in that Tonight Show seat that you're like, Conan, like adjust, wear the 1130 suit. Like he got a little stubborn on what he was doing and what he was trying to present and forced them in a bad situation. And Jay maybe didn't want to leave. And the whole Letterman thing with him wanting the Tonight Show and not getting it and therefore having no choice but to leave. It's all fascinating stuff. No one to blame. I think it's the war for creative, but I think Jay came out the villain. And that's some of it, Mike. I've even watched clips of Letterman commenting on this on his show in 2009 and 10, commenting on this, going, well, there's the Jay I know, and the crowd laughs, and Jay gets cast as the villain sometimes. So I don't know.
Which is funny because in the original Late Night Wars, then they did the TV movie, Jay Leno was cast as the hero against NBC and against Letterman.
Right. Betty Thomas directed that.
And I remember Letterman tried to have he pretended to have the actor playing him on, but conveniently bumped him for like 5 times in a row.
Oh yeah.
And the guy never came on.
Yeah. Well, why am I drawing a blank on his name? John Michael Higgins, who goes on to be love him in all the Christopher Guest movies. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a quick note. I'm remembering 2 things that. What's amazing, Chip said that Jay didn't own the Tonight Show and he just kind of focus grouped himself.
Yep.
What I'm remembering is that some of the best Letterman episodes was when Jay came on as a comic.
Yes.
It was hysterical. It's like, what do I have to do? Be that Jay Leno. That's who you have to be.
Yeah.
And then conversely, you get a real window into Conan and where comedy was going. In the midst of all that, Conan did a graduation address, I think at Harvard, I think. And if you read the thrust of it over and over again, he tells the graduates, it's a cynical world. Don't be cynical.
Right.
And what he was really saying was, I could get really cynical right now, but I'm not. I'm good.
Yeah.
And I think the world, the pop culture world, was ready for that tone to be their next voice.
Yeah.
And he was for a while.
He was for an absolute. He was the choice for a generation. Letterman's still my guy, but Conan fits. I think I have more style. Jay as a stand-up, Jay destroys them all still to this day. Obviously, Letterman famously failed at stand-up and was like, I'm a broadcaster, which he is at heart. Fascinating.
And Bill Maher has outlived them all.
And Bill Maher has outlived them all, indeed. Camshaft and chat. There's the Kaika's got. Well, okay, this is great. And Camshaft and chat says Jay Leno ain't no hero. I agree with that sentiment. I just also think I do think he's unfairly maligned for some of the stuff he faced with NBC and some of the stuff he pulled out. He's also one of the hardest working men out there. But show, power,
very
egos.
True.
Yeah, it's just sometimes the way of it. But Ikaika, the Hawaiian prince of the islands. You are younger, but this is not just a show for old people, like I always say. It's just the title. Pop culture affects us all. You love Conan. Is he? You feel he's part of your generation?
I mean, I grew up watching Jay Leno. I didn't watch Letterman. Like, I remember during summers, I would stay up and watch Leno all the time. And then once it became like, I remember the whole feud, but I don't know whose side I was on. But I think once Conan went to TBS, he just shot up. And I don't watch it a lot, but it's definitely my favorite late night host that's current right now.
That's awesome. See, multi-generational, and it's crazy. Crazy. I knew people who knew Conan back when he was training at the Groundlings, and they still to this day, they tell me that when he got this job, they were like, Conan can't carry a conversation in real life. He's so shy and awkward. How does he get this job? So to grow from that to where he is, considered one of the best of all time, that's a great thing.
Yeah, that's meteoric.
Yeah.
No one knew who that guy was,
no one.
Unless you were a Simpsons fan or whatever.
Yeah, and we're Simpsons. All 3 of us are Simpsons fans, big Simpsons fans, and he wrote some of the best episodes early on, so we kind of knew him. I knew him from his background appearance in some SNL sketches. I didn't really know he was a writer. I didn't gather that he was.
And
he was
it was from SNL. It was it's the drink. the producer, the executive producer of Saturday Night Live.
Lorne Michaels, it was the one,
Lorne Michaels, who actually put Conan O'Brien, who made him the successor in that slot originally.
Yeah. A lot of stuff, fascinating war. When I'm done on Internet for Old People, there will not be a war for my seat, but, maybe one day. All right, that is it. The first, that's our segment, Bucket Full of Pop.
Nice.
All right, we are about ready to get to our contest here. We'll have got a bumper in a bit here, but you guys are doing great. Thank you so much. You are inspiring me to go and do a separate podcast that's just long-form conversation about late-night hosts fighting. I think I can do it. All right, we are almost go to our game, but first, I got this Spice Girl fact for you. All right, this is our wonderful game that I've affectionately called Oh, I Know It, though hopefully people know it. You guys have played this before. We have a first to three, best out of five competition. Your name is your buzzer. We're competing over memories. You just win my respect. And today, because we are celebrating the 40-year anniversary of MTV, I am going to go. We've been done TV shows. We've done movies. Today, we're going to go bands. 1980s bands. Here's how it's going to work. I'm going to list off up to 5 songs, beat by beat. When you think you know, buzz in, and we'll see if you can get it here. All right. Are you gentlemen ready?
I think I'm licked already, but let's go.
All right. Here we go. First to 3. First one up. Photograph. Mike.
Def Leppard.
Def Leppard, right there. You got it. Oh man, I heard Mike first. Chip, if I cut you off, I apologize. But Mike, wow. Wait, are you a Def Leppard fan?
I also raised my one arm.
Yeah, you did, and I didn't see it. Wow, I didn't even have to get to the rest of the songs there. I was supposed to get a little easier.
Pretty big song.
All right. Mike, you just a Def Leppard fan that I didn't really know about?
I was listening and singing to Photograph the other day.
There you go. All right, first one out of the way. Mike's up, 1-0. All right, next one up. Hard Times. Rock Box. My Adidas. Chip?
That would be Run DMC.
Whose house? Run's house. That's right. Run DMC. And I thought it was Rock Box was the first ever hip hop video played on MTV. So they brought that history there too. Absolutely one of the big names, big bands of the time that helped define what that channel could do in a way. Though they, rightfully were criticized by David Bowie on air about getting on to, not playing just the old white boy music. But I thought that's a band that really helped build a legacy.
You can't overstate the Run DMC Aerosmith mashup. You can't.
That was the final one I was going to list.
Huge.
Yeah. For both bands. Suddenly it was like, the Glimmer Twins are still going. All right, we're tied up at 1. All right, here we go. Romeo and Juliet.
Mike.
Twisty. Oh, Mike.
Dire Straits.
You got it. Holy, I didn't. Woo. Man,
I had to decide if it was Dire Straits or just Mark Knopfler, but then you said we're doing bands, so I went Dire Straits.
This is great. I was worried because sometimes with movies and TVs, it's been a kind of a mixed bag on what people either know, and you guys are getting them here on the first try. I love this. Okay, yeah.
Look. I'm sorry, Chip. The dice were loaded from the start. That is a lyric from the song. Very sorry.
It is indeed. I didn't even get to Money for Nothing, which might be.
Boy.
I still think it might be. Yeah. It might be one of the most famous videos of all time. I think still to this day from that channel.
Yep.
Money for nothing.
I want my. All right. Yeah. Ryan Kramer says "Twisted by the Pool" is going to be Ken's next song. Great one. Yeah, it was absolutely going to be. All right. So it's 2-1. Chip, you need to come back here. But we got a couple options left. All right. Here we go. Number 4. Better Be Good to Me. Chip.
That would be Tina Turner, who's Biography, What Love Got to Do with It, was co-written by Kurt Loder.
That's right.
Whoa.
It was. It all ties
Bonus
together.
Points for bringing that in.
Tina Turner, man, you on the first try. I didn't even need to get to One of the Living or Back Where You Started or Private Dancer or What's Love Got to Do with It. Tina Turner, I know she's on a lot of people's minds right now with the great HBO doc. I'm halfway through watching that. It cannot be understated what Tina Turner was to the 80s and to MTV. I was looking at some of the stats. She played in front of 180,000 people on one particular show. So, yeah, absolutely an important one. Chip, you have some Tina Turner LPs in your collection, or you just know and you live that?
When you've heard that song 100,000 times driving up I-89, you know that song.
You know that song, and you know the artist. All right, this is great. We're looking into the music of the 80s here on Internet for Old People, playing the game. Oh, I know it. We're tied at 2, first to 3 wins. I don't even know if I'll need my bonus ones here. All right, I'll try to listen to hear which voice comes in first. All right. Change of Heart. The Goonies Are Good Enough.
Chip.
Mike.
Chip, I heard Chip.
Oh.
Cyndi Lauper.
We've got a winner all through the night. She-Bop, True Colors. Oh, man, that's Mike, you're so close.
I want to recount.
Recount.
I want video evidence that he got in there first.
Cyndi Lauper, man, I gotta tell you, I actually really love Cyndi Lauper. I guess as a professional wrestling fan, I'll always have a special place in my heart for what she did with the rock and wrestling connection there. A lot of people in chat shouting Captain Lou, Cyndi Lauper. So Chip, you just a fan? You just a fan? I just really know it, or you just live?
Hey, when you're driving up I-89, which is how you get to Johnson State College, which is where Cyndi Lauper went to college briefly.
Yeah.
In Vermont. Just found that out a few days ago.
That's
so
awesome.
I guess I don't know. Maybe we have a little something running in our blood. We have a little symmetry, a little similarity, a little something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Star Drew says time after time. Yes, please. Star Drew was up in Canada watching Much Music more than MTV. There you go. I love that, man. Mike, you talked about Madonna earlier and her influence on fashion during this time, which was perhaps unparalleled, other than maybe paralleled by Cyndi Lauper, who kind of I remember, and her title of the album was "She's So Unusual," and Madonna was a no-go in my house, but not necessarily Cyndi Lauper, though. The hair,
really?
The color, they were. My folks weren't sure what to think of her, but at least she wasn't singing songs about Jesus.
And she wasn't humping the stage and all that jazz.
But her song "She-Bop" is not the most chaste of pop songs. So. Yeah, Cam Chef says She-Bop was banned in the USA. She-Bop was. There you go. Oh, I love that. Chip wins. What does he win? Just my love and respect for knowing all these songs. You guys are great. I'm gonna have to return to the music one. I was worried that the songs were gonna hit, but I think I got an idea to come back to this with some other competitors too. All right, that is our segment on the games. Oh, I know it. Now this, we'll be right back to wrap up the show. There you go. For all you sports fans out there, I was sorry I talked over my own bit, Akaki. Sorry about that. I was gonna try to find a Steve Grogan of the New England Patriots for you, Mike, but I went with that.
Appreciate that.
Akaki, you have my permission to play that one on Positivity to tomorrow. See what Josh McCouga thinks about that one. There you go. All right, that is our show today. We're wrapping it up. I love doing this show. I love hanging out with friends, and these are two of my oldest friends in L.A., and I miss you both in person. We got to catch up, but I love doing it here on the old
Please have me back with Michael Beatrice sometime.
Yeah,
right?
I think we might have to launch the podcast inside Late Night Comedy Wars and talking about the importance of Diane on Cheers. We could do it. Thank you so much, Chip. Congratulations, you WGA award-winning writer of The Weakest Link, one of the members of the team over there. Thanks for coming back.
Writer of the week.
Writer of the week. You can follow Chip on Twitter at username Chip. He's never on there, which I actually agree with, but give him a follow because
I'm so busy working.
Hey, he's a good dude. Also, Michael Beatrice, one of the funniest, wittiest men I know as well. Can't wait to catch up with you in person too. Thank you, Michael, for joining the show today.
Thank you.
All right, and to all of you, thank you so much for going down this journey into my own memory lane, but hopefully yours as well. I love these pop culture moments. This is the language of pop, and I love speaking it with all of you here on the GPA. Thanks to Akaika Shively and his Conan O'Brien Funko Pop. You can show that one again. It's a beauty, Akaika. Thank you so much, Akaika, for pressing those buttons over there. Look at that. Team Sexy Coco. And if you haven't ever watched that doc, Conan O'Brien Can't Stop, or is it Can't Quit? Can't Stop. I think it's Can't Stop. I just watched it last night. It is a great look at a man, a creative in the middle of a war and how he tries to keep his sanity and still be creative. All right, that is it. We'll see you tomorrow on the Positivity Report. We got a big one. Chloe Condon coming back with the Positivity segment. Mark Ellis in studio. It's the first part of my birthday celebration. My birthday's Monday, but we're going to start the celebration tomorrow. And then tomorrow afternoon, we got the doubleheader. Josh Brady, we got House Damon, Alex versus Molly, and then a doubleheader. That flows right into live in studio. Eric Striffler and Christian Ruvalcaba, the first ever Josh Brady rematch. We'll see you tomorrow. That's it, friends. Go have some good poppin' times. Hey, what's poppin', Akaika?